Okay, thank you everyone for coming. Today, as announced, we have a forum with two guest speakers. The first one is the Minister Arban Abrashi, who is the Minister of Labor and Social Welfare. And the second one as a follow-up activity is the who will be presenting a very good opportunity for you to open and establish a social enterprise through the program Startup. Now, Dr. Hart, who is the president of RIT Kosovo, will be presenting these two guest speakers. Please welcome her. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. We're so very, very thrilled that you can all be here today. And I want to thank, as I was told earlier, the #1 club in the university, the economics club, that is really doing a great job here. So we want to say, we can tell our students, and they definitely agree on that one, right? Well, first, let me just say I'm thrilled to be here. I'm sorry, I just got off a plane. Just returned back from the U.S., so I'm kind of fighting jet lag because I haven't slept in 2 days. So I really apologize for that. But let me just say, first of all, I was over there. We had a great board meeting that went on for literally 2 days. And then we had a major fundraising event that went on late Saturday evening at the home of our board chair. So it's been a wonderful weekend back in the United States. But very, very importantly, I'm very glad and thrilled to be back here at the university. Can I have the lights back again for a moment so I can read the introductions? Would be nice for a second. See, they're so excited to get our speakers up here that I won't even have time to introduce. Well, if I can, I'm going to ask here, we have two speakers today. First of all, I'm going to introduce one. And then we will have you are the president, correct, of the Economics Club. We'll be presenting the second speaker. We thought that we would try to split this up. It's very apparent, plus it gives the opportunity for leadership, real leadership roles as well coming from our students. Today I would like to introduce, if I could, Kosovo's ambassador. I'm sorry. I was with the ambassador of New York the other day. My mind is still back there. The Minister of Labor and Social Welfare, and the Director of the Democratic League here of Kosovo. Arban, I must apologize because, folks, you know that for me, for last names, I'm still having a challenge with some of these. Abrashi? He says close enough. Okay. He comes to us with a Master's of Arts degree in European Integration from Sussex University in the UK, and he's also certified. I was talking with him earlier about his certification from Harvard University, which many of you know is one of the very, very top universities in the United States, if not globally, in executive education. He has also been the recipient of numerous and prestigious scholarships, as well as training programs, and he has won, for example, a scholarship from the European Commission, and he's also gained practical experience in the European Parliament in Brussels. So he truly comes to us with an extensive background and wonderful experience, and he's going to be addressing today the topic that is going to be focused around entrepreneurship and the steps undertaken by the ministry to strengthen this in Kosovo. And I know for so many of our students, and especially aspiring entrepreneurs, I think it's very, very important to especially find out what our own minister perception of this is, and where we truly can see Kosovo going today and in the years ahead. So, and now we will be introducing our second speaker for the day. Would you like to, and then would you like to have one come up at a time? How would you like to do this?
Let's just invite the minister.
Okay, so we will invite the minister up first to speak, and then we will go forward and have our second speaker. And we're so glad to have many others coming in and joining us here yet this afternoon. We're right between class schedule, shift times, so that's why we've got some students who are coming at this point in time. Okay, minister, if you would, please come on up to the platform.
So I'll start immediately since there was a short bio. So I did my master's 10 years ago in EU studies, and that EU has changed a lot from that time, so I'd rather not mention that. I don't know how relevant that is, but let's continue with the presentation. I'll start with a very short presentation of the ministry, and then I'll focus on the, let's say, since it was economics, or more on the entrepreneur, active labor market measure, as they call it in professional language. So we try to develop that, let's say, for the first time in larger scale in Kosovo. But since the ministry is very huge, it has the biggest budget in Kosovo, around 380 million, because it developed basically every 6 months. I just wanted to give an overview of what we do in general, and have a more focus on the entrepreneur or active labor market measures. So basically, scope and objectives, we start with pressure and analysis that respond to the labor market demands. So this is what we're trying to do, and we want to have a joint interaction with other counterparts, namely with Ministry of Education and municipalities in Kosovo, in order to have a better response of what are the labor needs, so we could adapt the curricula and the scope and the education in general for those needs. As a ministry, you probably all of you know, we manage pension scheme. We have more than 20 pension schemes that we as ministry deliver and manage in Kosovo, and most of the budget basically goes into these schemes, and it's pre-arranged already. So we sort of contracted on 1st of January, we know where all the money will go by end of the December. We provide vocational education. We have training centers, vocational training centers in 8 of regions of Kosovo. We try to provide professional training, let's say, opportunities, tailor-made trainings and opportunities for the job seekers, and then especially for vulnerable groups. And it's working well. I would like to see this component much more developed, but it's very difficult to implement policies that are flexible to the labor market needs once you have, let's say, state body or civil servants in place, because they are not easily adaptable to do that. We have social economic council and a dialogue that we foreseen and work towards that. Basically, it's a council that provides a meeting, a platform for discussion of different social economic issues between unions, representatives of business and industry, government, and union syndicates, as I said, and then at the same time, all the time, trying to ensure that we have the best service and increase the performance of the ministry. Last year, let's say we had a good success in pension schemes. We did do the categorization of the pension schemes for one of the pension schemes that is sort of the largest pension scheme. So we did categorization of that based on the contribution that they have paid earlier on, that is during and before the 90s. And basically this includes also increase of pension. We try to find resources through other means in providing better schemes in order to target unemployed and vulnerable groups. In all of these schemes, whatever we do and we try to implement as programs, we try to include civil society, donor community, and others. And linking harmonization with ministerial schemes with the aim of ensuring sound managed financial resources. Basically, what this means is that very often some of the potential social schemes or pension scheme are related to income that person or that family might have. So we have developed basically management system through year 2015 and 2016 in order to coordinate this and see whether somebody has income but yet at the same time gets another resource from public, from our ministry. And what happened is that only in year 2015, only in one scheme, that is social assistance, we were able to save around 5 million euros only with this particular criteria. So it's working well, and we're trying to broaden up this management system that is having an effect on sound management of finances with other organizations. So we have this with tax administration, we have saved 5 million because we saw people that had income would receive other benefits that were sort of illegal. Now we want to expand this to other organizations that also deliver different schemes and resources. All of this has been done with support of international community or donor support. We lack funds, especially when it comes to active labor market measures or developing new processes or management systems. So all of these have been done together with donor community, ranging from EU, UNDP, different governments, and so on. We developed this new opportunity field of circular migration. Basically, this is what it's called now. Seasonal work or opportunity. We developed this scheme only with the country, only with Germany, because we saw that there is potential, there is a need, and we try to develop these programs in a minor scale in order to prevent illegal migration, but give people opportunity to go work in Germany and come back with an expertise, know-how, and skills that they couldn't receive in Kosovo. So what happens on the ground is that since January 2016, around 5,000 to 6,000 people have left to work temporarily in Germany, while the illegal migrations have basically come to zero. We work on several laws during this time, and it's Social Economic Council. We need to broaden the portfolio and representation of the business industry, because now for the moment it's only represented by two major economic industry representatives. It's Kosovo Chamber of Commerce and Business Alliance. We want to broaden this to other businesses or different chambers or alliances of business, because there is potential, even though the numbers of their representatives are much smaller. Modernization of SFIP. This is basically a management system that we have installed last year, is developing. It provides us data on real-time data on job seekers. One of the problems I have confronted during the first month of the office was job seekers numbers. So basically, when I visited one of the regional centers, I was asking them about the numbers of job seekers in that center. They gave me a number that is half of the voters list. Basically, this is what they said, like, it's 80,000. And I told them, like, but voters list of that region is 180 to 200,000. It cannot be possible. So what is going on? While discussing that, we saw that that was a passive list that the Employment Service was using since year 2000. So whoever looked for a job was there, and we got a total of 80,000 in this region, and that accumulated to 300,000 in total. So we installed this system to see real-time data, and based on gender, municipality, education, so we could have more or better prepared policies or active labor market measures depending on where we want to tackle. And now we have real-time data on job seekers, and I think the last time I checked there were like 130,000 job seekers in Kosovo. That doesn't mean that all of them are jobless, because some of them look for a better job, but at least we have a proper management system that tells us who's looking for a job, what is their education profile, gender, year of birth, which municipality, and we make a tailor-made program to suit whichever group we wanna tackle. So I'll follow on this. Active labor market measures. I'll come up on the next slide about what we do and what these means. But basically, we put active labor market measures on track in half of 2015, because we needed 6 months to develop regulations and laws, basically. But the numbers have doubled or tripled compared to 2014, where we were like not even mentioned. We have tripled the number of people that we have that have undergone trainings in our vocational training centers. We believe that if we provide good training opportunities that are matching to the needs of the labor market, these people will be self-employed, and that is working. So we really target what kind of trainings, and we minimize the risk in order to have the best results. We see now a year and a half for people that have received grants or active labor market measures that they have developed. We will provide a grant, one grant, for example, for one employee to get the job or a certain job. We see that they have expanded to 5, 6, 10, or 10 people or more. We deal also with social services. We have put that because it's a it's a sector that we really need to work on. Social services in general is a sector that has been transferred, decentralized to municipalities in Kosovo after the independence in year 2008, 9, 10, so basically it was transferred, but it wasn't being followed up with capacity building and the budget. So this is a very difficult position for us as an institution because those services have been delivered, but there is no budget for that and no capacity building. So what we did last year and this year is we tried to basically transfer more staff to the municipalities with more budget. We try to work on a budget formula with Ministry of Finance that basically each municipality in Kosovo, since it has this role, should receive budget for that as well. So we're developing a formula on that. But in the meantime, we try to license all of those that provide social services, namely persons or NGOs or social enterprises that we are foreseeing to establish with the law. So basically, until we get the formula sorted out and the budget sorted out, we want to have in place people throughout Kosovo, NGOs, and people working in municipalities and different organizations that are licensed to provide social services. How? Okay, so these are basically ALMPs that we have worked on since 2015-16. And some of them are a bit complicated, some of them are very, very simple, like the one public works. So basically, public works was a particular active labor market measure that involved people that are in social assistance, that are able to work, and would be engaged in very easy public work. So basically, park, cleaning, kindergarten. We wouldn't tender these projects to different companies. What we would do is get people from different companies as managers, as trainers, while people that receive social assistance throughout Kosovo would come and do work in these public works. It was a great success. It was a project that was started jointly with us and Ministry and European integration. We learned a lot basically from this program. We learned a lot because then after this one we developed different projects that are a bit more long term, because this one was a very, very short-term project extending 6 months to possibly a year until that public work is done. But we have learned what are the needs, and now we have developed another project basically that tackles people in social assistance and job seekers that fall within the social assistance scheme. But this time we're not doing this donor community, we're doing it the business community. So basically what we're telling the business community is that if you provide someone from social assistance a 1-year contract, we will do wage subsidy for 130 euros for each month. So basically we think that this is a win-win situation for the business itself, for the job seekers from the social assistance, and for the families that receive the social assistance, because they will get at least 130 euros from us, plus we foresee the same amount from the business community, and they will have a decent, let's say, salary, while at the same time they will be removed from the social assistance and from the long-term inactivity that they are in. The second scheme that we have worked on is very much constrained to the budget opportunities that we have in the ministry. We have done this with other donor communities, wage subsidy. We were really targeting people that are really in need. So we targeted women, we targeted youth, and we targeted people with disabilities. Then we had another targeting method of classification, let's say. We targeted some business sector that have the highest growth potential and job generation, creation opportunities, and that was mainly the textile industry, wood industry, metal industry, IT, and food processing industry. So we really wanted to minimize the risk in order to have the best effect. Waste subsidy, we had delivered, I think, more than 1,000 contracts, and we were very happy with this project. We knew that after 1 year contract that we have paid waste subsidy for women, let's say, not all of them will remain on the job, but if we would have 30 to 40% remain on the job ratios, we were really, really happy. Entrepreneurship support, this basically means grants and mentoring in developing these businesses with different donor community and the municipalities. We have started last year because the projects are ongoing, a couple of projects, but we have handed out over, we should have 400 or more grants for self-employment until now that we have delivered, and some of them are really working really well, because we have handed out the grant for one self-employment, let's say, but we see that they have developed and have more people on the job. On-the-job training is also one of the active labor market measures that we provide on continuous basis. Basically what this means is that very often we see that businesses, job seekers, job providers, they don't communicate between each other that often. We try to facilitate the communication. So basically we're offering them the option that job seekers go and work in a company, it's called on-the-job training, for a certain amount while we as a ministry do the payment of that time. So basically we try to support the communication between those job seekers and the business industry in general. This is also working well because we get data time after time that lots of them remain on the job even after the training period. Vocational training is the training we provide through our service centers and the training that we provide with other support organizations that we have a lot. Basically, we try to focus on training that makes people self-employed. We know that the industries that we have mentioned lack of skilled workforce, so we try to offer them trainings in that particular area. So for example, when I say metal industry, there are companies in Kosovo that would hire welders, whatever numbers we take to them. So we try to have trainings for welders and get them a job because they basically already have a job once they finish the training. Same goes with the wood industry and textile industry. Circular migration is something new for Kosovo. I think it was done before in the 80s, but now we developed it only with Germany. This is based on policies. This is enough, how to say, that would fill the needs of both the industry and our needs. We started with Germany. We have a quota from German state that 5,000 contracts could be delivered, and people already started, and it's done on the individual basis. So basically on political level, this has been sorted out, so now it's up to people to apply for a job in Germany, and they are on the same level with job seekers. 8 regional centers, everything we manage, we go through these 8 regional centers for training, 60 workshops, 30 courses. As said, around 8,000 people have been undergoing these courses in year 2015 and 2016. I'm not that happy with what they provide because, as I said, they need to be more flexible based on the needs of the labor market, but this is sort of better than nothing. We try to develop and make these training centers as flexible as possible. Once we have the employment agency, that would be a new legislation in place, would make these centers much more flexible. Public employment service is doing much better than before. We have increased or doubled the numbers of jobs that they have identified, jobs that they have intermediated. The service is provided to job seekers, but once we have the agency, I think that would have better overview of the situation. Labor inspectorate is a very challenging sector, namely because of the working culture in general, but also because of lack of resources in labor inspectorate. We have only 50 to 55 inspectorates that cover all of Kosovo. As I said, everything we've done in these past years, it was done jointly with donor, private service provider, non-governmental organizations, think tanks, and partnerships with organizations such as EU. We try to develop at the same time communication. We think that when it comes to employment or unemployment, education and communication are key. So we try to work with local institutions, with Ministry of Education to have education based on the labor market needs. We try to communicate this with young people and with schools and municipalities. They need to invest on that. And as I said, the last slide you see our main partners that we have worked these 2 years is EU, GIZ, World Bank, Results. This is a German organization that we have developed a small grant for self-employment. We did the same with UNDP, with both grant for self-employment and wage subsidy. It's another organization that works with us jointly in training opportunities. And we have developed with Caritas in-house services and providing social services to the elderly, who will be getting the Caritas experience, and together with our funds, Caritas funds and municipality funds, because we are trying to build this network of people, social services that provide elderly care services in-house. Way forward, ongoing reforms are needed. We're trying to learn from best practices in EU. We're setting new standards for all of the services providers, for the pension scheme and pension service, for the employment service, social assistance service, and social services that we have. The biggest challenge is public funds. We're in constant struggle with Ministry of Finance. They said we have to cut the funds. We need more. Another very, very important when it comes to society in general is the career orientation and investing in entrepreneurship culture. So we try to develop this as something key that will tackle employment. So basically, this is a general overview what we do as a ministry. Open to any questions or.
What is the main part of the ministry?
So basically, even when we got the office, I tried to shift the image of the ministry from a ministry that was known for pensions and social assistance. We tried to shift the scope of work into the active labor market measures or labor components. So when I say labor components, besides these small schemes that we try to tackle, because unemployment is something that is fought in broader base, but through these schemes that we're trying tackling vulnerable groups. Another very important issue or engagement on the very, ambitious project that we're doing with the Ministry of Education and all municipalities in Kosovo is to have career orientation. So basically what we do as a ministry is we do analysis of the labor market on monthly basis, and we provide this data to the Ministry of Education, hopefully that they will change the curriculum and adapt the curriculum and education system from the earliest possible. And then try to develop as much as we can the entrepreneurship culture. What we see through our public employment services, public sector is very attractive for young people, but that one cannot absorb anymore. So we're trying to change this culture and have it more like entrepreneur and private sector oriented culture.
Okay, I had a question regarding social assistance scheme in Kosovo, since I'm working for my thesis about that. You said that you have been able to save a substantial amount of the budget, and based on the reports that have been done mostly by the internationals, because locally I can see that there is lack of these reports. They say that there is insufficient, this amount is insufficient to cover the basic nutritional needs for these families. And the second question is about the public work programs. You said that they were very successful, but based on the data that I have seen, there are, for example, last year just 135 people of beneficiaries of social assistance have been engaged in these public works. And based on the surveys that have been done from UNDP, some of them have said that they have worked for just 2 or 3 weeks, and after that they have been replaced with other people. So how this can be efficient? Thank you.
Okay, so basically with social assistance, let's start like this. The lists are prepared by municipalities, and they come on each municipality, they send the bills to the ministry. What we saw from either municipalities or other info, we saw that very often the criteria haven't been met based on some audit report that our teams have went and seen in municipalities. Once we saw this, we came into a conclusion that we need to develop programs and software systems that would follow up on the criteria. And the best proposal was that we should interlink this with tax administration and see basically who has income should not receive social assistance. So what happened since the system was installed and functioned in March 2015 is that there was a short drop of those that received social assistance based on management of this system. So we didn't touch any of the criteria. That is something else we're
Yes,
trying
but
to do.
The budget has been decreased, for example.
No, we have saved, we had 28 million in that year, 2015. Based on this system that has been in place, we saw that we're saving a lot. So on November of 2015, on the International Day of Poverty, with the savings we had, we increased the social assistance for 25% for all of the families because we had, so we've done that. At the same time, we worked with other programs. We're trying to change the whole criteria, but we're doing that jointly with World Bank and with UNICEF in changing the criteria of those that receive social assistance. We need another 6 months at least, because currently now we're doing a poverty test in Kosovo, so we will need the data in order to change, or not change the criteria, we'll see, but I think that we should change some of the criteria. So 2016's budget is 30 million, 2 million increase, at the same time having 25% increase in cash benefits for those families. What we did with public works is that during the whole program, that is basically done now, there were more than 1,600 involved. We saw that we need to work on different programs or schemes rather than public works. What comes across to my mind now, and as the biggest challenge, is that in 4 or 5 municipalities, this is a very paradoxical situation. We couldn't get people from social assistance to come and work in these projects. In Pristina, when we built the kindergarten in Dragodan, Albria, the public service, employment service called more than 600 people from social assistance that are able to work based on the CVs that we have to show up and work for 6 months or 9 months in that project. The salary is at around 300 euros, only 15K, 14 or 15. So very often people that are in social assistance tend not to work because of long inactivity or because they are involved in other labor activities in the informal sector. It wasn't only the Pristina case. The same happened with Podriego. When we had a schoolyard renovation, we couldn't get 30 plus people from social assistance to come and work because none of them would apply. Then with the support of the municipality, we sort of arranged that numbers. We had a problem with Ferizaj. At Ferizaj, we couldn't find 70 people from social assistance that have been willing to work in one of the school program, public works program. And Ferzai was even worse, but because at no point we couldn't find people to work, so we had to tender the project. That was a good project in general because we learned a lot. We learned a lot that people tend not to work because of very short time, because of the skills and know-how in general. So we initiated another program where we now involve business community to offer them one-year contracts, so they are more safe to undergo this contract. And at the same time, we have initiated a law on active labor market measures, and we put a clause basically that says that if somebody receives a social assistance Kosovo and is invited by public employment service to come and work or have a contract, and they reject that for 2 times, we terminate the social assistance. So the program, like Public Works, maybe it wasn't very, very good as we would like to see, but we learned a lot and we have developed new programs out of that we think are much more tangible. At the same time, we have changed a lot that basically would enable us to have these people engaged once we call them. We're still thinking about more ideas. We have a request from municipalities and mayors that ask us that we should make these people come and work public works on regular basis, like cleaning and maintenance and so on, for the needs of municipalities. We are still discussing this with municipality association and their members, so this might be also as an idea.
So thank you again for the presentation. While I'm doing also my my capstone, and I came across many challenges while I was in the progress of my secondary data obtaining. That's because of underestimation, overestimation, or lack of data. So I wanted to ask, how do you tackle such an issue when there's no data, or there's underestimation of data, or for example about women participation in labor? So there's underestimation of data, and also in differences between gender differences, index is not available. So I think one of the criteria to be part of EU is to have such coefficient available in our country, such as Gini coefficient, gender difference index. So how do you tackle issues when you don't have a real mirror of what's happening actually behind our country?
No, for example, statistics agency now provide roughly good data when it comes to employment, unemployment, women participation, inactivity, and so on. So we use that data. When we want to do projects, particular projects, we use data, our own data, that we basically hire a company to do surveys. And we do that jointly with other ministries or organizations. So basically, we want to tackle things that relate to women. My personal experience is that we have asked World Bank to provide us surveys and feasibility study about women employment, unemployment, and what are the problems causing to have such a low women employment rate in general. So we asked proper data from respectable institutions, namely UNDP, World Bank, mostly, because they were really flexible to our needs.
I'm talking about this mainly because while I was researching about the gap in payment between men and women, there are no data of such since 2012, and I think it's quite a long time to not have updated those data since 2012, and that's why I'm asking, because since 2012 we see the participation rate increasing, but you have the same wage, so that's why it's like not.
No, well, we don't deal with data. As a ministry, we don't deal with data. We order data when we are.
But you tackle the issues regarding the data.
For example, when we tackle that, we ask from certain organizations to provide us data and do surveys. So there is data available on the statistics agency. We use that. If they are not available, then we ask from donor community, namely World Bank, EU, time after time. Austrians were very helpful to us with the data in regard to employment in the agricultural sector in general. And then, as I mentioned, World Bank, we needed a data is the relation. So that data is not public, but we can share that. And we try to ask data from organizations, but sometimes when it comes to programs and dealings with businesses, we do questionnaires jointly with professionals, and then we ask business associations to provide that to their members, and we get data from that as well. But data is our problem in Kosovo, yes.
I do have a question. Thank you for your presentation again. I heard you say that the migration now is down to 0 in our country.
Illegal.
Illegal migration?
Illegal.
What I'm trying to ask is that, except the public work program, is your ministry or the government as a whole trying to do something to engage these people? Because speaking of, as of my point of view, as a normal citizen, I hear a lot of people, as soon as they have the chance again, they will flow again into Europe. Are we trying to do something as a country to prevent these people, or trying to make our country more attractive to them?
So in general, investment opportunities, but for those returnees, we have returnees and integration projects and a small budget that tackles them, and basically besides incentives, financial incentives to remain, they get training and employment opportunities and coaching through this integration process while they're in Kosovo. Can't remember all that last data, but let's say if in this year 2014, beginning of 2015, around latest data I know there were like around 80,000 that have left Kosovo in the wake of wait. That was 6 times, let's say, 6 months time. Around 70% of them have decided or asked voluntarily to be returned to Kosovo. So they have requested themselves through our consulates or embassies or different means to come and return. Not all of them returned because it is a process, but I think in 2016 around 15,000 have returned. 2015 was a bit more than that, around 20,000. I can try to get the data from the Ministry of Interior. But the good thing is that people have foreseen or requested themselves to come and return. Besides that, since some of them has lost some property or sold or in loans, we try to provide them reintegration programs, and very often it's done by a different ministry, but very often they come to us and we might transfer that competence to our ministry because we have the best tools to engage people in the labor market, because engaging them into jobs is the best solution for them. So we have a budget of 5 million already in place only to tackle that. It is within the Ministry of Interior, but that's going to be transferred into our ministry in coming months, basically. Ladies first.
was labor force. And my question relates to, has your ministry implemented any policy that will decrease this number?
Good question. It's, I said labor inspectorate, so we're talking only at the contract level, not other means, because other institutions deal with that, basically tax administration, customs, analysis, and so on. But in contract level, we try to engage with different partners to have more outreach in regards to contracts and respecting the law and tackling informality. We do that with social economic partners, basically. That is the whole unions that are represented into this council, and main business representatives, namely Chamber of Commerce and Business Alliance, because they are part of this team. We, at the same time, we try to engage in different education activities and information campaigns with regards to tackling informality. And this year, based on the best practices from some of the Scandinavian countries and Eastern European countries, because they have this problem as well, we try to organize labor inspector activities in particular sector. So they tackle, let's say, wood industry or construction industry or media. They did the media as well, but not on the basis of surprise. So basically on the informational basis. So what the labor inspectorate does is that they get the list from the business registry of all companies that pay taxes on the construction, and they tell them, like, we're gonna come and visit your business on 1st of February. We should have these things prepared. What this showed us is that it's having a better effect rather than going into surprise basis, where we could find 1 or 2 workers or 5 without contracts, and then there are fines, and then businesses are not coping very well with fines in general. So we try to inform businesses about the rules and procedures when it comes to informality. And as I can remember, last year we did this action with the surprise effect. We had 1,600 or 1,008 or 800 people without contracts in businesses that have been monitored or inspected. This year we saw a much higher number of people registering or business registering their workers without this surprise effect. So we tell people, basically we try to focus on information rather than fines. But we do that with partners, associations, unions, media, and everybody else involved in this. But the biggest problem is lack of resources. As I said, it's only 50 inspectors that deal with these issues, and then we have other problems as well besides tackling informality, like business problems where they come and request for support on their personal basis.
Don't we have people that can work as inspectors, or we don't want to have? If we have only 15 with a 2 million.
This is a larger problem when it comes to public, let's say, expenditure in general, and public employees in the public sector in general. So maybe Professor could explain that better than I do, but problem is that we have a freeze when it comes to new employment in the public sector. So there are needs for new staff, not only in inspectorate, in other sectors as well, but since there is a freeze and also a memo that we have a program with IMF, we have freeze the numbers, so we have to deal only with the numbers we already have. Until we have a major public reform program. I think after we finish these big, let's say, political issues, the next government is going to deal with public administration reform. It's a must.
We will do that.
I'm sorry to have to stop this discussion, but it's 5, so we have to move on with the follow-up activity. Thank you very much. I hope this has been a good topic for you to discuss. And we will go next with the follow-up activity with Dorothea Saciu, who is an alumni of RIT Kosovo and has a very rich CV for a young age girl. She has a major on public policy and she has continued with that, but she has been involved in different projects and now she is a youth project officer at UNICEF Innovations Club Kosovo. She will be presenting to you a great opportunity on establishing social enterprise and winning up to 5,000 euros to make that enterprise real. And the program is called Startup Social Enterprise. But before we follow up with that, just have a break for 5 to 10 minutes. You have some drinks and snacks in the table outside and come after 5 to 10 minutes.
We just have a short explanation from the minister about the law